top 10 NFL defenses of all time. Number 10, the 1966 Green Bay Packers. This team was loaded. This team was such a great team under a future Hall of Famer and Vince Lombardi. Had a great offense, but people never talks about this defense. And if they do, it's usually people that really know about the game and know about the entirety of honestly the entirety of the history of it. So I mean, if you want to look at some guys that honestly you have to be like, yeah, these guys got to be recognized. I mean, you're looking at they had guys like Willie Wood, they had guys like Herb Adderley, they had Dave Robinson. They had really good Leroy Caffey was pretty good that year. They had a Willie Davis. They had a Ray Nitschke. I mean, the fact that they had some really tough guys in your Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, just fantastic. They only allowed 11.6 points a game, which was first in the NFL at the time. I know it was only a 15-team league, but at the same time, you got to give credit where credit's due. Green Bay was just super, they were ready. They were a ready team that was kicking butt, and really it showed in the Super Bowl how powerful this defense can actually be. Just a lot of toughness in this team, a lot of throwback, and great team. I mean, first in points against, pretty much. Third in yards allowed. Fourth in turnovers. They were third in first downs allowed. They were first in passing yards allowed. They were first in touchdowns allowed. They were second in interceptions. And they were also third in rushing touchdowns allowed and sixth in rushing yards allowed. So overall, great defense. Number 9, the 1972 Miami Dolphins. This team is the team that went undefeated, the only team that has gone undefeated all throughout the entire year. And really, it's because this entire defense and this entire offense, pretty much this entire team was unstoppable. This defense, I feel like, does get a little overlooked. But at the same time, I mean, you got to take a look at them and you're like, yeah, this is one of the top defenses of all time. First of all, 14-0, 70-0 overall, which includes the playoffs there. I mean, a team that allowed 12.2 points per game, first in the league out of a 26-team league there. I mean, honestly, for the time, that's just, honestly, that's something that you just got to look at and you got to be like, yeah, I got to respect them. You got to respect a team that had guys like Anderson. They had a Jake Scott. Let's take a look. I mean, beyond Nick Conti, the middle linebacker was fantastic. Vern DeHerter was great defensive end. Manny Fernandez had some great year. Bill Stamfel, I mean, these are guys that are pretty much Hall of Famers. They are Hall of Famers, and they were a team that were first in points allowed, first in total yards allowed, second in turnovers, first in first downs allowed, fifth in passing yards allowed, third in passing touchdowns allowed, second in interceptions, third in rushing yards allowed, and third in rushing touchdowns allowed. Overall, this was the top 5 defense in every single category, which really you got to give a lot of credit to defensive coordinator Big Bill Arnsparger. You got to give credit to Don Shula for being such a legendary guy, and you just got to give credit to this entire team, and most importantly, this stacked defense that people rarely talk about, but really they were just a team that shut them down. They were just a unit. They were not a guys. They were a unit that shut them down. If you want to take a look at shutdown, shutting down the Redskins, only scoring 7 points in that game in the Super Bowl, it's pretty impressive, especially Super Bowl. That's a big stage. To only give them 7 points, that's something. Number 8, the 2015 Denver Broncos. This defense was very stacked from the beginning. Favorites to win, of course. Peyton Manning was super old this time. But, defensive coordinator Wade Phillips, he was going to draw something up. And they had their share. They did really great during the year. They did a great job stopping Big Ben. They had a great job stopping New England. And, of course, Tom Brady. And they had a great time sacking Cam Newton, ruining the Panthers' day, really. And Carolina went on to lose that, of course. And overall, you got to give credit to this entire defense. They had Danny Trevathan, Brandon Marshall, T.J. Ward, Chris Harris Jr., Darian Stewart, Derek Wolfe, Malik Jackson, Akeem Talib, Von Miller. List goes on and on. Bradley Roby was used. DeMarcus Ware, of course. You got to give credit to where credit's due. This was a stacked defense from the get-go, and if they didn't win, then that would be a problem. But that's not the problem. They won it all, and they were fourth in points allowed, actually. Overall, fourth in the league, but they were first in yards allowed. They were eighth in turnovers. They were fifth in first downs allowed. They were first in passing yards allowed. They were third in touchdowns allowed, passing touchdowns. They were 13th in interceptions. They were third in rushing yards allowed, and they were 10th in rushing touchdowns allowed, as well as first in points allowed per drive, and average yards allowed per drive was first. So overall, definitely a team that got it done, stopped them, played excellent football, went 12-4, and went on to win the Super Bowl. So there's not much you can say, but yeah, legendary defense for sure. Number 7, the 1969 Minnesota Vikings, the best team, one of the best teams in the NFL that didn't win at all, did not win a Super Bowl at all, should have won, going 12-2, being a team that only allowed 9.5 points a game, the fewest total number of points ever by a defense. And the big reason why they're number 7 is pretty much plain and simple. They didn't get it done in the biggest game, losing 7-23 to a Kansas City Chiefs team. Honestly, this was the team that was going to win the Super Bowl. The Vikings were going to win, and the Chiefs are the ones that won that Super Bowl. Bad time to be really normal, because the entire season they weren't normal. They were superhuman. They got it done every way they can. Great offensive team, of course. They're ranked on my team as one of the best of all time. And you're looking at this team on defense. Yes, they're definitely on this list because they had the Purple People Eaters. Pretty much that's their entire name. The fact that they had, you can go down the list. You got Bobby Bryant, Ursel Mackby, Paul Krause, Lonnie Warwick, Jim Marshall, Roy Winston, Alan Page, Gary Larson. Like I said, you can go down the list of these kind of players, and you can see, yeah, that's pretty scary to have an Alan Page, as well as have Gary Larson, as well as have Jim Marshall, all in that same front four. That's scary. They were a scary defense, and like I said, they were first in points allowed, first in average total yards allowed, second in turnovers, first in first downs allowed, first in passing yards allowed, first in passing touchdowns allowed, first in interceptions, second in rushing yards allowed, and second in rushing touchdowns allowed. This is a defense that should have won it all for them. And the offense, too. They were just a complete team, and they didn't win it. They lost 7-23 to the Kansas City Chiefs in the biggest game of their life in the Super Bowl. And that's unfortunate. That's one of those stories, a very upsetting story. One of the teams that I feel like really should have won. And they could have been a dynasty. You really never know. Number 6, the 1975 Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers of the 70s was scary. They were the steel curtain for a very long time, of course. They were unstoppable on offense. Not unstoppable, but they were pretty good. On defense, though, they were scary. And the 75 Steelers are definitely one of those teams that has to be on this list due to really the way they played. They were tenacious. They were a tenacious team. They beat the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl. They were feared. They were a feared team led by Chuck Noll. Honestly, what did you expect? This is just a fantastic team that only allowed 11.6 points a game, which was second that year. So, why is the 75 Pittsburgh Steelers number 6? Well, because there's another Pittsburgh team that's definitely going to be in the top 5. You'll see later. And it's a few years, actually. It's still in the same era. You'll see exactly why they are definitely better than this team. But 75 Pittsburgh Steelers, honestly, there's not much you can say of their weaknesses. They were just a strong team. You had Hall of Famer Mel Blount, Mike Wagner. You had Jack Lambert, Hall of Famer. You had Jack Ham, Hall of Famer. You had, you had pretty much Joe Green. You had yourself, you had yourself the Joe Greens. You had yourself the LC Greenwoods. You had yourself that, and that's literally what you need to really put into perspective. Greenwood, Green, Holmes, Dwight White, and Lambert, Ham, Russell was fantastic. Overall, I mean, like I said, just an overall dynamic team that won the Super Bowl. You know, not 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 that handily. It was definitely a challenge in the Super Bowl against the Dallas Cowboys, but they got it done. And I mean, looking at their rankings, I mean, you're looking at second in points against, fourth in total yards allowed, 13th in turnovers, third in first downs allowed, fourth in passing yards allowed, first in touchdowns allowed, fourth in interceptions, eighth in rushing yards allowed, third in rushing touchdowns allowed. So overall, yeah, just great team, deserving of winning the Super Bowl. Fantastic, fantastic. Um, yeah. Number 5, the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's not talk about the Super Bowl, huh? That was one of the most lopsided Super Bowls in NFL history. 48-21 against the Oakland Raiders. Oof. Beating down the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly, 27-10. Beating down the 49ers, 31-6. I mean, they had it was a great job. They had, you know, John Gruden. That was pretty great defensively as a defensive-minded kind of guy. But I mean, Monte Kiffin, Mike Tomlin, those kind of guys, they really helped a lot. And honestly, what you can say is this team was ready for anything. This team was definitely built through the draft. They were definitely slowly getting there. They finally got it. And they played through some key guys, but we got to just look at this entire defense. It's just fantastic. Only allowing 12.3 points per game that year, which was first in the National Football League. And, I mean, Simeon Rice, Greg Spires, Warren Sapp. You had Shelton Quarles. You got Derek Brooks, Hall of Famer. Warren Sapp, Hall of Famer. You know, Alshon Singleton, Brian Kelly, Rondé Barber, future Hall of Famer, definitely. John Lynch will be a Hall of Famer. Dexter Jackson. Overall, yeah, just a great overall team that got it done. And the only Tampa Bay's Super Bowls because of this team. And, they were lucky to have such a great defense because their offense wasn't really the greatest. It really wasn't. It really wasn't. It definitely showed some flashes, but it wasn't the highlight of the team. The highlight of the team is defensive turnovers and how they were going to get it. And pretty much that's what Tampa did. First in points against, first in yards allowed, third in turnovers, first in first downs allowed, first in passing yards allowed, first in touchdowns allowed, first in interceptions, fifth in rushing yards allowed, third in rushing touchdowns allowed. They were first in points per average drive, first in yards they gave up per average drive. So overall, this was a team that brought it. They brought it. I mean, having Derek Brooks, Sapp, Lynch, people don't really give much credit, but Rondé Barber is a solid defensive back. Should be Hall of Famer in the future. But yeah, this was a team just destined to win. They got to the ball, they were tenacious, and they got a lot of turnovers. So yeah, great defense, fun defense to watch. If you ever get to see this defense on a replay review, you gotta see this defense play. Tenacious. Number 4, the 2013 Seattle Seahawks were one of the most entertaining teams I can definitely watch on TV. I loved watching them defeat the Denver Broncos 43-8. That was a Super Bowl I was watching with my mom. She was impressed with how offensively they're really on point at times. Give credit to Russell Wilson, give credit to Beast Mode. They did their part. But honestly, in all honesty, this was a defense that like one guy moved, they all moved. This was a very, very hard defense to stop under a great defensive coordinator, which is now a great coach, Dan Quinn. You know, had a great staff, Ken Norton, and those kind of guys. It was great to see really what they could do and allowing 14.4 points a game, which was first in the league that year. Fantastic. On top of that, they win the Super Bowl. Really, like this year, you can see them have really a great lineup as well. They definitely have a potential winning the Super Bowl this year, so we'll see what happens there. I'm not giving you my picks. I just gave you my picks of the records wise. We'll just wait and see, honestly. But yeah, this defense was super exciting. You had Red Bryant, you had Chris Clemens, you got Tony McDaniel, you had Brandon Mebane, Bobby Wagner, Bruce Irvin, Malcolm Smith, KJ Wright, Sherm, Browner, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas. Just a great overall defense, a young defense of that. Now they're definitely a little bit of a veteran, which is good. Definitely not bad to be a veteran. You have experience, but this is just a young team that was just hitting it at the right time, at the right moment. 13-3 record, pretty much cruise through the playoffs, and that's it. Win the Super Bowl, and they are now definitely renounced as one of the most entertaining, one of the best defenses of all time because they shut down a lot of guys, they shut down a lot of teams. They were tenacious, and yeah, they definitely deserve to be on this list. I do believe 4 is a good place for them. I feel like there was 3 other defenses were a lot better, but shouldn't discredit the Seahawks' performance of this year. Number 3, the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. What a great team! What an just yeah. From the get go, they were going to get somewhere because allowing 10.3 points a game, that's nuts for the year 2000. You're only allowing 10.3 points a game. You're bound to be big. You're bound to do something big. And what they were able to do was get to the playoffs and beat the New York Giants 34-7. And Marvin Lewis, great defensive coordinator, of course, great defensive coordinator. Rex Ryan helped. Jack Del Rio, I mean, those kind of guys. Mike Smith, honestly, great staff over there in defense. Great overall team. Young Ray Lewis, and they got their first ever Super Bowl of their franchise, being 12-4. Just yeah, we just got to go through it. A lot of names of these really people don't really know much about them, but they were very important. They had a great year that year, and they were on, man. Whew, they were bad, man. You could not allow much. You could not allow many points. Honestly, you could try. You can try to go through the offense, but they're through the offense. You can try to go through the defense. They were going to stop you. They were very good on the run. They were very good on the pass. They were very good down the middle with the linebackers. They're a very complete team. It's a shame that they didn't really, honestly, they didn't really stick around. I feel like this team could have been and should have had more than one ring. Just, that's the beauty of football. Um, but yeah, looking at what we got here, I mean, defensive end Rob Burnett, Michael McCrary. You had Sam Adams. You had Tony Saragusa. You had he's going to be future Hall of Famer Ray Lewis, Peter Boulware, Jamie Sharper, Dwayne Starks, Chris McAllister, Kim Herring, and Rod Woodson. Honestly, I feel like people should know who Ray Lewis and Rod Woodson are. The others, I can understand why you don't. But they were very excellent. They were an excellent team that made great contribution to this team. I mean, the stats should speak alone of what they did, and it's got to be first in points against pretty much 10.3 average. It's fantastic. Second in total yards allowed, first in turnovers, second in first downs allowed, eighth in passing yards allowed, second in passing touchdowns, fifth in interceptions, first in rushing yards allowed, first in rushing touchdowns allowed. They were also first in average points they allowed in a drive, second in average yards they allowed per drive. So, and they were also first in plays allowed. They only allow like 5 plays each play. So, honestly, yeah, this is an unstoppable defense, scary defense for sure. Number 2, the 1985 Chicago Bears. You should really see the 30 for 30 about these Bears. Honestly, fun team to watch, fun team to be a part of, I would think. And they were just a nasty wild of dogs, like they just said. They were in the documentary. They said that they were nasty pack wild of dogs. I would say that's definitely the case. They came after it. 1985, 12.4 points a game allowed, first in the entire league. Very impressive. Also very impressive is winning 46-10 to the New England Patriots. Of course, that doesn't sound that impressive, but it is. It's the Super Bowl. The Patriots got there because they earned it. So beating them by 36 points, yeah, it's pretty good. And they shut down the Rams in the NFC Championship. They shut down the Giants in the divisional round. That's fantastic. And Buddy Ryan, probably not probably is the best defensive coordinator of all time. I mean, he got these teams to really just be motivated. I mean, looking at down the list, Dan Hampton, Steve McMichael, William Refrigerator Perry, Richard Dent, Aldous Wilson, Mike Singletary, Wilbur Marshall, Mike Richardson, Leslie Frazier, Dave Durson, Gary Fensick. Honestly, all these guys together made a really, really scary defense. And it helped their offense because their offense was not bad. It really actually wasn't that bad because they had Walter Payton. And Jim McMahon was really not that bad neither. He didn't do terribly. It's just their offense is definitely not the main reason, or even the reason at all, that they are in the Super Bowl. I can definitely give Walter Payton, but you got to give their line, because their line was fantastic that year. Definitely helped Walter Payton rush for over 1,500 yards. Jim McMahon's numbers were not the best. The receivers didn't really have many catches, so that's why I'm thinking the defense has to have more credit about this you know, than they already have. They already have a big part of it. Um, I'm just telling you that, yes, this is a big reason they won the Super Bowl is because they had a shutdown defense. And Refrigerator Perry can run the ball. Um, Overall, just a fun team, though, overall. I mean, first in points allowed, first in total yards allowed, first in turnovers, first in first downs allowed, third in passing yards allowed, third in passing touchdowns allowed, first in interceptions, first in rushing yards allowed, first in rushing touchdowns allowed. So this was an unstoppable defense to go through. It was a juggernaut, and it's kind of sad, kind of shocking. Really, if Buddy Ryan did not leave, I feel like this team probably should have won and would have won 3 more titles. They just they were bound to be a legendary dynasty defense. So, number one, the 1978 Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to tell you exactly why they are such a big team that should be regarded as the best defense. First of all these defenses are fantastic. They really are fantastic. It's kind of awesome to see a defense that revolutionized something as big as, like, let's say in general, just saying, Mel Blount. There's a Mel Blount rule. Mel Blount was the cornerback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Fantastic guy, very, very aggressive individual. That really just you hated playing against him. Let's just put it that way. And D line, at this time pretty much, they were able to kind of get through defensive ends or defensive ends. Defensive ends were allowed to get through O lines by, you could have like tapped them in the head, tapped them in the helmet, try to get past them and stuff. But I mean, with that whole rule in place of trying to slow down the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's what makes their defense so much that better. It just the fact that there's a rule for Mel Blount and pretty much all corners that you gotta be a little bit farther back, give the receiver some space. The fact that the D lines had to be a little more finesse with their moves, more than just slap them in the helmet and they can just be distracted and can get to the QB easier. Yeah, there's a lot of rules that were in place, and I feel like it was definitely trying to slow down that defense. It did help the offense, it really did, but it also showed exactly what this entire team is about. It's about defense. It's about the steel curtain, and to still allow 12.2 points a game, first in the league, even with the rules to try to slow them down. That's what's impressive to me. On top of that, yes, they did come close to losing the Super Bowl. That was a pretty good Super Bowl, 35-31 to the Dallas Cowboys, but they won it. They're the Super Bowl champs, and they deserve what they're gonna get, man. They got it done even with all those rule changes, and I mean, for the most part, this is a team that really didn't change much. L.C. Greenwood, Joe Green. I mean, John Banizik was definitely not on the 75 team. Dwight White, though. Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, Lauren Towes, new face. Ron Johnson, new face. But you had Mel Blount, Donnie Shell, which I believe he was still on the team, 75, and then Mike Wagner. But overall, I mean, same team, different rules, but they still dominated. And in the regular season, as you can see, first in points allowed, third in total yards allowed, second in turnovers, seventh in first downs allowed, 12th in passing yards allowed, second in passing touchdowns allowed, seventh in interceptions, second in rushing yards allowed, second in rushing touchdowns allowed. And got to a 14-2 record. Sorry, defensive coordinator George Pearls did a really good job. Um, and yeah, got him to divisional round, winning 33-10 to Denver, 34-5, and 35-1 in the Super Bowl. So 14-2 team, led by Chuck Noll. Great offense. It was definitely improved with a couple of changes. And yeah, but this defense deserves a lot of credit for being a team that had to adjust, and they did just so that, and they they did that pretty much. My words are definitely starting to become like Yoda for sometimes. I don't know why, but anyway, enough of that. No, they did what they could. Rule change, and they still dominated. I think that should be recognized as really admirable. It just shows the kind of spirit, the kind of fight, kind of competitive nature that this team really imposed, and they should be the best defense out there of all time, I believe.